Howdy. Today's video is going to be talking about the Nova Light rework that happened in the recent update in Warframe, co-main the 5 Fates. This is not a build video, so if I have weird stuff on, then don't be like, hey, why is your build so wacky doo-doo dog shit. Don't worry about it. It's not a build video. This is just going to be talking about the changes and what I think of them, I guess, and whether or not it helped her, which it did. So let's go ahead and get down to it. Now, this was a light rework, which is different than a rework, I suppose. And they changed quite a few things. First off, they changed Nova's passive. Before, when you would get knocked down, it would knock down nearby enemies. That was it. It was horrible. Now, enemies killed while slowed down have a 15% chance to drop health orbs. Enemies killed while sped up have a 15% chance to drop energy orbs. That is pretty snazzy. I very much approve of this. If you're using equilibrium, either way you get energy, which is pretty awesome. And this is going to play into her 4 a lot, so we'll get down to that in a minute here. Her Null Star got quite a few changes. Now, the very first thing they did is they made it recastable. Pretty awesome. There is a cooldown on recasting it, though, of 2.5 seconds, so be careful about that. Because it doesn't really matter, I guess, in normal play, but it is going to matter when you use the augment for it, which we will also go over in a minute here, because the augment does actually have value now. It does pretty good damage. They increased the base particle count from 6 to 12, but it still only needs 18 to get the max 90% damage reduction cap, which is very nice. Before, this is not mentioned in the patch notes, I don't think, and I could be totally wrong about this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. There's a very good chance I am, but I don't think the damage reduction scaled with strength before. So you had to get like 300 duration to get the max DR, but now you get 12 particles at base and the damage reduction scales with strength. So you could even have like base duration and be able to get the max amount of DR from your Null Star, which is very, very nice. They did slightly nerf it by changing the Helmet version, not the normal version, right? So the Helmet ability of Nova is her Null Star. The DR cap for other Warframes is going to be 75% instead of 90%, which is a bit of a sad face. They also made the visual effects of it a little less annoying and bright, so it doesn't like make you want to off yourself in GTA, so that's pretty epic. The damage resistance you get from Null Star now applies to health and shields for yourself. Previously, it would only apply to your health, which was very wacky and lame. They also doubled the base damage from 150 to 300. They changed the damage type from slash to blast damage, and every single hit with the little particles has a guaranteed blast proc. So that is very epic. Overall, a massive improvement to the ability. They also changed the neutron star augments. Recasting will cause remaining particles to seek out enemies and then replenish the particles orbiting Nova. Heat damage and guaranteed heat proc now apply to all Null Star particles, not just the ones sent out via recast. What this means is that with her augments, let us find a build where we can put it on Neutron Star. Now, before, you had to cast it to get the particles and then cast it again to make them seek out. Once it's active, casting it again will make them seek out and automatically give you the new ones. So you only have to cast it once, which is much better than it was before. But because there's that 2.5 second cooldown, you can't spam it, which kind of sucks. But it's not the end of the world because the damage is way higher than it was before. Way, 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 way higher. Also, because it applies to all the particles regardless of sending them out, this augment does do stuff even if you don't recast it. You can just have it out, and look, it'll go out and apply heat to all of these dudes. It's nice because it does passive damage, strips their armor, and also does crowd control by making them freak out because they're on fire. That's pretty good. And the damage is actually way better. You can't tell right now here because we haven't built into it. We have no mods on, but you can actually make it do some pretty good damage. And before I move on, I do want to show a little okay sort of build with it so that you can see it is capable of killing stuff now. It would appear I actually got rid of that build that I had stuff on it for. So we will go ahead and jump to where I have it built so you can see it. Here we are. I have the builds set together now. I don't really care for what these are. I guess you could actually change this to more efficiency since you know more duration means more particles, which means more damage. And more damage is always nice. Oh wait, we already have more efficiency on. Again, this is not a build video, so this is just a sort of general low level kind of build. Corrosive protection, strip armor, double heat procs or extra heat procs from Archon Vitality, neutron star, energy, range, strength. Now, molecular fission was also changed. I was going to mention this after we talk about her 4, but we'll talk about it now because I have it on. It still does the same thing it did before. Enemies hit by null stars. Oh, wait, no, sorry, the other part. When killed, primed enemies will restore a null star charge and have a 100% chance of restoring 2. And that extra chance does not skill strength, sadly. What it does now that it didn't do is they added enemies hit by null stars are primed the same way they get primed from her 4th ability. So you can even prime stuff without casting your 4. So that's pretty cool. However, don't get any funny ideas. That doesn't mean you can get rid of her 4 with Helmet, because to use the augment, it's a 4th ability augment. You have to have the 4th ability. So that's something. We do have Roar here because it's going to double dip our DOTs. I just want to show real quick that this can actually kill stuff now, because before it couldn't, not effectively at least. We will not even be using heat inherit. We just want to be able to apply a little bit of viral and that's it. So cast Roar, cast this. I'm not even going to cast my 4 first. Just spread some viral. And look at that. That's some pretty good damage. Some pretty good damage. I really like it. And it's a 360-degree radius around the player. So that's pretty cool. On to the rest of her abilities. Her second ability, Antimatter Drop. Launch a large particle of charged antimatter that will detonate on contact. It's supposed to be. I believe that's a typo there. I guess I don't really need to talk about what it was. I think most people knew what it did before. It was changed, first of all, visibly. Now you can see how much is charged up by looking at it. You can see it's much easier to keep track of, much bigger. And as you shoot it, it shows how much it is charged up. You can also recast the ability now to send it flying forwards in the direction of your reticle at Mach speed. That doesn't mean you can only have one out at a time, but it makes it a lot easier to, not have to move around. They also made it so it follows your reticle more closely and more accurately so that you don't lose track of it. They changed the damage type of the ability from radiation to blast damage. It also has a 100% status chance to proc blast. It only takes 5 shots absorbed by antimatter, right, to fully charge it. It only absorbs 5 shots. So keep that in mind. If you, shoot it with something that does very little damage, it's not going to absorb a lot. But if you do a big PP damage weapon, then it's going to absorb a big PP amount of damage. Range also affects the range of the ability now, whereas previously range would not increase the explosion size of the ability. So if I put stretch on, you can see now that it goes up to 21.75 meters. However, to balance out all of these buffs, it now requires a line of sight check, whereas before it could go through walls. So that is a little bit sad, but not the end of the world. Still a better ability overall with all of the changes. They removed the delay that would occur before it explodes after it hits something, so it blows up immediately now. They also improved the collision on it, right? Or removed the collision so that the orb won't run into players or specters, anything anymore, screwing it over. So that's nice. Next, we have Wormhole. This one was just slight tweaks, but still nice to have. They removed the duration and now has a infinite duration. Instead, will only run out after you cast more than you're allowed to have to kill the oldest one if you create a fifth one. And it also shows how many uses are on the portal. So if I cast the portal, there's 4 little dots, and if I go through it, it will remove a dot so you can see how many uses are left on the portal. And if you hold cast the ability, you can see where the portal ends now. So that is very nice quality of life changes. And then finally, we have the big one, the big one, her 4th ability. Something that many players would do before is they would reduce their strength. By lowering your strength to negative amounts, it would change the slow effect from molecular prime to speed effect, causing the enemies to be faster than they normally were. And the reason people would do this is to speed up missions like defense missions, or just in general missions where they're farming enemies, so enemies would come out faster so that they could farm stuff quicker. It is a very nice strategy to make use of. But it required you nuking your strength, which was not optimal, to say the least, for other stuff. Well, now you don't have to nuke your strength anymore. Instead, you build strength for both because tap casting gives the slow effect, hold casting gives the speed effect, which is extremely nice. They also made it so that it expands at a much faster pace than before. Look at this. That is way faster than the very slow paced that it would be before the update. They also made it so that the baseline speed or slow effect is 50%, whereas before it was 35% slow. So now to get the maximum slow of 75%, instead of needing a little over 200 strength, you only need 150% strength. So very nice. They also made it so that the ability bonus damage on primed enemies affects all of their health types, basically. Before, it would only make enemy health take more damage. Now it makes enemy health, shield, or overguard take more damage, which is extremely nice, and I think it should have been like that from the get-go, but very nice that they did that. They also made it so that the speed up effect that makes enemies faster works on enemies that are immune to crowd control, such as Eximus with Overguard, so that they aren't, screwing over your runs where you're trying to speed through stuff. Very nice. Killing primed enemies now also has a 20% chance to proc the blast effect on nearby foes, which is just extra explosions and extra damage. We love extra damage. Very nice. And we already went over the changes to the augments, molecular fission. And that is all of the changes to Nova, mostly, but also not yet. We still have a couple more things to talk about. I have not tested this because I don't have Vigorous Swap. I don't have Arcane Arachne. Wait, no, that's not true. I have it right here. I apparently do have 2R0 Arcane Arachne. Something that I have heard is that antimatter drop no longer counts as a weapon. Before the update, it would, meaning Vigorous Swap Arcane Arachne or Eclipse as a helmet ability would increase the damage of antimatter drop. But after the update, it supposedly no longer counts as a weapon, meaning it will not benefit from normal damage increases. There's a 20 damage increase, and then if we get Arcane Arachne, it is still 20 damage. So that's unfortunate, but the damage is still overall higher, I'd say, so it doesn't matter too much. And the opposite has actually happened with the first ability. To my knowledge, the first ability did not count as a weapon before the update. But now, after the update, it does count as a weapon. 25 on each proc, 25 or 8. And then if we get Arcane Arachne, come back over here. Nope, still 25 and 8, so I don't know why somebody had said that. But hey, there you go. Now you know. And the more you know, right? Just picture the meme, the more you know. If I was not dog shit at editing, I'd be able to put that there. And those are the main changes to Nova. And by main, I mean all of them. I'd say she's a much better frame now. She's not that she was bad before. I mean, I know I had said that, but we fixed that in a video. But she's a lot better now. Energy economy is so much better because of her passive. It's a lot easier to survive since her no star DR applies to shields and health now. It's way easier to get the 90% DR. It can actually do decent damage. You can build for nuking stuff with her augments for her 1. You can prime stuff with her 1 because of molecular fission. It's way easier to prime stuff with speed. You can switch between speeding stuff up or slowing stuff down mid-mission. Her portals are more convenient. Her antimatter drop makes way more sense now to use. It's way less annoying. Overall, the Nova changes just fixed pretty much every single problem there was with Nova. It's all been fixed. It's so nice. All of the problems I had that I mentioned in a previous video about Nova have been fixed. I am very glad about that. Very, very glad about that. I do have Archon shards on her, so in case, you wondered about that. Armor, casting speed, and parkour velocity. Not that that matters too much. I will probably do a Nova build video sometime in the near future. Maybe, like a max investment video. I don't know. Kind of got bored of those. Kind of got sick of the name, I guess. Kind of feels cringy now. We'll see, though. If you liked the video or you know any cool stuff about Nova after the change, new synergies or something, then let me know in the comments below. Leave a liking and subscribing. I speak English. Don't worry about it. Leave a like and subscribe, and that would be very epic. Adios.